Nearly 30,000 people from both sides have died in the prolonged armed conflict ever since an offensive by Hamas militants on October 7, 2023, and the subsequent retaliatory strikes by the Israeli forces. The conflict has expanded to the surrounding Middle East region with increased scale and intensity, sending signals of a potentially emerging full-blown war.
The involvement of Lebanon-based Hezbollah, Yemen and Iran in the ongoing Palestine-Hamas-Israeli conflict, Israel's continuing deadly strike on Hamas-ruled Gaza Strip, along with its reluctance to proceed with UN-proposed two-state solution, have increased the potentials for the conflict to escalate into a full-scale war in the Middle East. In view of unfavorable development in Gaza and eventually the Middle East, Indonesian Minister of Foreign Affairs Retno Marsudi has taken the opportunity of her presence in New York, attending the United Nations Security Council or UNSC open debate on the ongoing crisis in the Gaza Strip to voice Indonesia's standpoint on the issue. The failure to ensure that Israel acts in compliance with international law amid the stalled process toward realizing a two-state solution could further plunge the Middle East into a wider open conflict, said Retno during the UNSC open debate session on Tuesday. Her remarks came amid widespread fear of a wider regional conflict involving neighboring countries and growing calls for Israel to de-escalate its military activities. Over 100 days since the crisis in Gaza sparked, divisions between the international community on the matter continue to deepen, increasingly putting the Middle East on edge. Fire exchanges between the region's pro-Palestine rebel group and Israel and its allies have thickened tensions in the Red Sea, Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, Syria and Yemen, further destabilizing the region amid sluggish diplomatic progress. Retno demanded that the UN Security Council to penalize Israel's continued aggression. She reiterated Indonesia's call for a permanent ceasefire while suggesting that immediate full membership in the UN must be granted to Palestine to start a fair, balanced peace process. The Indonesian foreign minister also called for an arms embargo on Israel while citing that every weapon sent to Israel can be used to kill innocent civilians. Israel has been procuring most of its weapons from the United States, but other countries such as the UK, Italy, Canada and Germany have also been exporting their arms to Tel Aviv. Since the 75-year conflict reached its new height on October the 7th, the UNSC has passed two resolutions calling for adherence to international law, especially concerning the safety of civilians, as well as urging for the realization of this two-state solution. Yet, defending its action as self-defense, Israel attacks have continued to target public facilities and civilian infrastructure. Then last week, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again signaled a rejection to de-escalate, saying that the Palestinian sovereignty required for a two-state solution would be incompatible with Israel's security. In response to Netanyahu's statement, Retno said it only confirmed Israel's ultimate goal to wipe Palestine from the world map. She also questioned the UNSC's effectiveness in seeking solution to the Palestine-Israel conflict, saying that the Council has failed to act on its own resolution, while Israel killed Palestinians with impunity. Indonesia's concerns were by no means isolated, with dozens of countries in the UNSC meeting expressing similar fears. They said that Israel's rejection of the two-state solution would only impede peace in the Middle East. Lebanon, whose militant group Hezbollah has been exchanging fire with Israel forces at its border, warned countries against falling into the Israeli trap of regionalizing the war, underlining that Lebanon does not want war. Meanwhile, Iran, a regional power that has been backing some of the Middle East militant groups, cautioned that Israel's allies were making a strategic mistake, adding that a referendum with a full participation of Palestinians would be the only viable solution. The US, while still maintaining that Hamas was to blame for the escalation, requested that Israel adhere to international law and increase its efforts to protect civilians, all while asserting that the two-state solution is the only guarantor to end this violence once and for all. The two-state solution is largely believed to help establish an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel, two states for two peoples. In theory, this will win Israel's security and allow it to retain a Jewish demographic majority, in a sense that it will let the country remain Jewish and democratic while granting the Palestinians a state. Most governments and world bodies have set achievements of the two-state solution as official policy, including the United States, the United Nations, the Palestinian Authority, and Israel. This goal has been the basis of peace talks for decades. Similarly, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said the risk of broader regional escalation is now becoming a reality. Addressing the open debate, Guterres said the risk of miscalculation is dangerously high. He urged all parties to refrain from aggressive rhetoric and to immediately end activities that could further inflame tensions. Guterres also renewed his call for immediate ceasefire in the current Israel-Palestine conflict in Gaza. Similarly, calls for immediate ceasefire have also been aired by a number of state leaders, along with waves of protests in many parts of the globe, sending the same message. Efforts to bring an end to decades-long Palestine-Israel conflict are apparently not an easy task to perform. The peace initiatives are in reality hard to pursue due to the UN's incapability to lead a concerted and binding resolve mechanism to end the conflict, and the continuing financial and military support by the United States and its allies to Israel. Chances for a peace settlement are also slim, because there are always extremists on both sides who oppose a peaceful resolution and instead choose violence. Still, we must not give up hopes in our endeavor to bring an end to the conflict. There is always light at the end of the tunnel.